All right, now Steve, who will be our speaker today, he'll be giving us our invocation. So let's stand for the invocation and don't sit down because then we'll sing our opening hymn.
This is more of a prayer, but Source Creator, raise us up each and every day to feel divine love, to open to divine love, and to express divine love through us in all we do. Amen.
Amen. All right. Let there be peace. All righty. Don't sit down too fast. We have a hymn, right?
Yes, we're going to do 189.
189.
No, 185.
Yep.
189, Lita.
What is the name of the song?
The name is
185.
I was looking up there. I'm sorry. The 5
Yep.
is 185.
185. Where are we?
I am the expression of
Infinite life.
life.
All right. Look at all these good people coming. Welcome back. Hi.
Lita, do you have it? Yes. Okay.
All right. So 185. I am the expression of infinite life.
Okay, here we go.
All right. Woohoo. Well, welcome again, everybody. All right. Announcements. We're going to do announcements a little bit differently today, but there are a couple that I like to start off with. Number one, please turn your cell phones off or put them on mute or do not disturb. Thank you very much. Don't forget, we have a suggestion box at the back. You can email us, you can text us, you can call a board member, you can call us and give us a voicemail. There are all kinds of ways. And don't forget, our email address is interfaithon9thstreet@gmail.com. And that's interfaith, all smalls, on smalls, 9, the number 9, street@gmail.com. Now, did you have some announcements for us today, Carolyn? Welcome, Carolyn, back today. Yay-hoo.
Yeah, it's great to be back. And as you know, we are using the lunchtime for talking part of the time. We still have our personal talking time, but we're also discussing ideas as they rise. And we've had 2 ideas rise from the people, from all of us this week. And so we're going to talk a little bit about those downstairs and see how they want to gel or keep moving with us. And one is food. And we want to talk a little bit about our lunch food and whether we want to be having potlucks every week instead of just once a month. And so we're going to talk a little bit about our food and about healthy eating and just what do we want to think about all that over lunch. And then Denise is going to talk to us just a little bit about an idea we're going to talk about at lunch. And other than that, just welcome that we're all here celebrating only our 2nd week in our new shape. And I actually got a card in the mail. People like it so much. Carol Condrath wrote and said she saw it on Zoom and she loves it. And it's only our 2nd week to have the angel here. And
3, it's 3, you missed one.
oh, I missed one, right. But the truth is about this angel, it has an amazing story of being created by inspiration by the artist Jan McTavish, local, a part of this church community in our long story. And we can now see it really well here. It's so beautiful and it fits just perfectly. And what I want to note for all of us, which I'm sure you're all aware of and we're feeling it, Jesus, the painting of Jesus that was there for many years and painted in a sentimentally meaningful way to our community in the past, was a confusion for people who didn't know us well and came walking in and looked like a Christian church with Jesus at the altar, but also he was so beloved as that painting that it was hard to move him away from that. And so what's happening now, he's built in there with wood. He can't be picked up and moved somewhere else easily. But what that means is, not only does the angel quilt hang perfectly fitting there, which who knew it was going to do that, but the Christ consciousness is shining through all of it, all the time. And that's the part that most of us, of the Christ and the Jesus story, that we treasure as part of our great infinite story. So however that worked out, it's pretty mystical and beautiful to me. So we can all enjoy and celebrate this new. Why does the word resurrection want to come? It does. So I'll just leave it at that.
Hi. One of the things that has been brought up by a few people is something that we did in the past. Years ago, it continued right up until COVID, but it went through a few steps. It started here in the church, and then it went to someone's house. It ended up at my house, and then COVID hit and it ended. It was called Tea and Conversation. And it was very well attended. People enjoyed it, and we listened to various classes, etc. Carolyn Miss, archetypes, healthy intuition. We did a very varied topics, and we would listen and talk and discuss, and it was quite nice. And we visited and did a lot of things, and it's something people would like to see come back. So I said I would be willing to head that up if there was some interest expressed, and we came up with a time and a place. We're thinking church here and time and day to be discussed at lunch. So we'll talk about that.
All right. That sounds like so much fun, Denise. I never got involved because I was always busy. Now I'm kind of free, so. All right. What are we doing next week? Oh, is that New Earth next week?
Well, Steve should tell about too. But anyway, in our new schedule, we have typically it moves around a little bit, but second Sunday is Sing and Share. We have for the share, we have channeling, and we have an opportunity for us to come and speak to each other and share our own stories with each other. It was well begun last time, and so we'll carry that on once a month. And then the first and third Sundays are still our speakers, as usual. And then the fourth Sunday used to be the Unity Sunday. And so all we've done now is say, let's loosen it up and have it be something unity or something else. But sort of, we're calling it sort of just the lowercase name special programming. So this week, it's Steve and Carolyn talking about a New Earth update and Q&A, because there's a lot of interest about about New Earth in our group. So maybe you want to say just a little more.
Not much that I have, but yeah, we'll have some kind of program to go over some of the things that we've talked about in the past to kind of just update people as to what this idea is and try and give it a little bit more shape so that people can understand. And then a Q&A time, of course, that should be fine. So come hear about that. And we can have other presentations as we go forward. We've found other sources of videos and things like that that we could show that maybe wouldn't be a worship service per se, but could be a focus of interest. So if we have, we can come up with some of those and see how that goes.
And in terms of it being or not being a worship service, we can still enclose it in enough of the parts of the pieces that we come to church for within that special programming. So again, this is all us exploring ways that we are renewing ourselves and potentials. And so keep it with a lightness in your heart about, well, how do we like this? What else might we do for our community as we enjoy each other?
All right. Okay, just a couple of quickies. If you missed or would like to rewatch one of our services, you can always check us out on YouTube. If you have any questions about the church, you can look at the website, which we're going to be tweaking and looking at and see where we can add stuff to. Also, come to church. Unity Book Group is on hiatus for a while. Okay, so the Unity Book Group that was meeting on Sundays and then was meeting on Tuesdays is on hiatus for a little while. They just finished their most recent book, so they're going to wait a little bit. And then they're going to come back and we'll have a Unity Book Study group coming up in the future. So keep your eyeballs on that. All right, so now at this point, I would like to ask if anybody has anything that they would like to have us pray over or think about throughout the rest of the service. Is there anyone that you know of in need of prayer? Exactly. Well, that's the first line of duty, making sure Carolyn is 100%. She's back. She needs her rest, and I keep trying to poke that at her, but she's back and she's here, and we're so grateful that things have turned around the corner so that she can be up and out and actually driving now. Woohoo!
These things happen in our life and our spiritual path, because if our life is our spiritual path. So this was number 3 in a series of striking events for me. So I honor that. I'm of course peering deeply and heartfully into it, but also for all of us. Let's remember this is a time of amazing increased energies on the planet, our higher resonance, to find our shadows, to find where we need to open more to the light, to the love. And so I know I'm kind of showy because mine end up in the hospital, but let's watch it for all of us and hold each other with such love and compassion and tenderness all the time.
Any other prayer requests? Carolyn Hansen, prayers so she can recover from a complicated situation. All right. If you have not already, Virginia, sorry.
I have a very good friend who's having neurosurgery tomorrow.
And her first name?
Her
Linda having neurosurgery tomorrow morning. We need to pray for good results. Oh, wow. Okay. So good results there. What, God-driven results from that. If you haven't already done so, put in a piece of paper with a request or an idea for someone to pray over. You can also do so intentionally, and those are prayers that we will pray, are people we will pray over and about during the service and beyond. And don't forget, we have food today. We have food every week. So come and join us for coffee and conversation and good things to eat downstairs after each service. And I think that's the end of the announcements that I want to give. But instead of the unity principles or the regular principles, we're going to do the new kind of vibe that we want to get here. And it's the 3 lines that Carolyn has brought to us that makes sense. And it is a call and response. So I will say the first line and we will respond afterwards. So joyful teamwork is our way. Joyful teamwork is our way. Listening kindly is our path. Listening kindly is our path. We are in renewal together. We are in renewal together. And with that, I am going to allow Carol to sing or to play In the Silence, which is in your hymn book, number 74, right? And after that, then Steve will be doing a healing meditation, and then we will move on to our speaker. He will be our speaker today.
Thank you. Keep your mind on these names. I'm going to offer a prayer and then some silence to go with that. First of all, let's do some deep breathing, a couple of breaths here. I have a prayer. I'll repeat it 3 times. I'm going to change it to say our so that we are talking about all of us and all the names in the bowl. Source Creator, help us each and every day to keep our bodies safe and strong in all ways by making healthy choices and seek those things that reward and support a long and happy life. Heal our life's troubles, correct all inner discord and signs of illness within, according to our highest good. Reduce all symptoms to a minimum while complete healing is underway. And I'll repeat this 2 more times so you can have a little bit of it to focus on in your meditation. Source Creator, help us each and every day to keep our bodies safe and strong in all ways by making healthy choices, and seek those things that reward and support a long and happy life. Heal our lives' troubles, correct all inner discord and signs of illness within, according to our highest good. Reduce all symptoms to a minimum while complete healing is underway. Source Creator, help us each and every day to keep our bodies safe and strong in all ways by making healthy choices and seek those things that reward and support a long and happy life. Heal our life's troubles, correct all inner discord and signs of illness within, according to our highest good. Reduce all symptoms to a minimum while complete healing is underway. Now we'll take a few minutes to pray and meditate on that.
Okay, well, apparently that's not gonna happen.
Thank you. You can come back now. Where's that coming from? Okay. Okay, well, that was our signal. Wonderful. Well, today I want to share with you what I've discovered about prayer in a way that is a lot different than what I grew up knowing. So I thought you might benefit from some of the new conceptions about what it is, how it works, and why it's important to us. There is a printout on the back counter when you leave, you can grab, of the prayers that are recommended. And there's also a handout on the angels and basic ideas about them, because they're involved in this too. So when you leave, be sure to grab one. So most of you believe in God. It's, whatever name you use, whatever religion you follow, we're going to use that as a starting point. And the idea that humanity was created by a divine being and placed here on earth. So that's the start. Now, we know that most teachings, most primitive myths and sacred writings give us some kind of a creation story with God or gods as the originating source. Of course, we don't see that God, so We just have the stories, that's all we have. The story after creation is different in many different traditions, and although there are similarities, it kind of feels confusing, and that's probably not an accident. So in fact, if we look at society, what society says about God, that may convince us that God is dead or irrelevant, because that's kind of what we hear. The more and more we hear, the less we hear about God, because, you know, Darwin's theory was proposed and how all that's supposed to be the way things are. So those that still believe in God are kind of driven into their corners, and they have to protect their beliefs, and they have to, you know, be looked at a little differently sometimes. People are afraid to talk about God because they're considered, you know, superstitious or extremists or simpletons. So I think that's kind of a review of where we're at here. So it seems to me that even if we believe in God, we may have lost the thread of why we were created in the first place. And based on my research and what I've discerned to be true from that, this is kind of the contribution to what is the basis of creation and what our purpose could be. Mostly I'm drawing from a site called getwisdom.com. It's a real catchy name. But there's a lot of information on that site. So this is where the prayers have come from. The main message with some metaphysical background is about the benefits and the workings of prayer and how it can empower us. That's my take today. So to understand the connection to prayer, I want to look at first like the basic facts of our creation. And this is kind of trying to do this from an impartial point of view. So it's kind of a summary of our position. So basically we're born helpless into a very dangerous world. We don't know who we are, we don't know our story, and we're given a story by our parents or by society or family. So we're raised by others that we don't really know originally, and we have to come to know them and ourselves. And sometimes that assistance is very good, you know, very precious and trustworthy. Sometimes it's harmful and faulty, so we have different situations in life. We can have a lot of difficulty learning to perceive our others' motives really for our own good or not. And since we can't really know what their mind is, their intentions, that's a struggle. Ultimately, once we grow up, we have to make choices for ourselves about what we see and if it is safe or not. We may have talents. If we have any talents or abilities, it's kind of up to us to discover those. We don't know first thing offhand what they are. We also learn about love. You know, families are meant to teach us about love. That's the ideal way we are taken care of as children. Sometimes that isn't the case, and we may instead need to learn about love from others. Or if we're exposed to religion, we might possibly pick up the idea of the golden rule, at least, you know, that can help us to make choices that at least don't harm other people. So it's in keeping with love. And we also have the ability to create in this world. I think it's obvious we create ideas with our thoughts and words. We create things with our hands, and we create children with our bodies. Looking at the modern world, the results of human creation are staggering. We can find all sorts of amazing things, many interesting ideas, and a variety of people. It should be evident that this creativity is a part of our nature. So next, I'd like to draw some spiritual conclusions, and this is coming more from the Get Wisdom teachings. So I think we can create because God created us as, you know, in his or her image, and that we are extensions of God's consciousness and nature. So this is kind of the basic starting point for us. And we are born really not knowing our Creator, just like we don't know our parents. We need help at one time or another in this world. Other considerations are that God sustains his creation. He's kind of like the sun. The sun is shining on everything. Or nature growing more than it needs. There's a sustaining force that God continues to provide us with life. In fact, we don't even know how much of our body's energy comes from somewhere else, because there's a very small percentage that comes from food and breathing, and then the rest of it is like unknown. how do we know where that source of energy comes from? Well, they're saying that it's God providing that life energy, and then when we're done, that's gone. So anyway, so we have this idea of an all-powerful God with the situation. How does that, oh wait, forgot one thing. Yes, God loves his creation, as that is his nature, and he or she wants us to love it too. We consider God to be good, all-powerful, and all-knowing. So that's kind of the basic idea of God. But how do we reconcile that idea of an all-powerful God with the situation that we're living in? This is a sticking point for a lot of people. Obviously, as an extension of God, we're not all powerful here. Let's look at what else is going on. Another characteristic that we seem to have is that we have a free will in our minds. So we have freedom in what we choose to think and create. One of the basic rules could be then that God gave us free will to create here. And I need to unpack that a little bit more because there's still kind of a questionable part. If God gave us a free will, what about God's will? If God is all powerful, how does that work? So this is a stumbling block for a lot of people who have difficulties. Why believe in a God that doesn't fix or stop evil and suffering, or doesn't seem to answer their prayers? What if we're thinking about it wrong? This is kind of trying to get to this idea that's come through to here. What if God chooses to be bound by his or her promises? So if he promised us free will, what if, and we're an extension of God, so we have some of his nature and his abilities to create. If we're given a free will, are we free only to choose good things? No. What happens if we choose bad things? How do we know the difference? What is there to guide us? So this is all, hopefully this will become more clear with some of these ideas that I'm going to share. So what they're saying, and I think this is the correct understanding, is that God has given us free will and a world to live in, and what we choose is up to us. The results or the consequences of our choices are ours to live with. So God isn't going to interfere because we're in charge. So the world goes on, and as humans make decisions, we have to deal with those things. If God were to intervene without our choice and make something happen for everyone, we would no longer be free to choose. That influence would corrupt our free will, and we would be forced to think about, oh no, we have to do this or we have to do that. So that to me kind of explains why there's no overt proof of God in the world. It's not possible because God won't step in that way for everybody. We're here to learn. That's why life is set up this way. God wants, I think, to have us learn to be more like him or her, just like we want our children to become good people. So I think that prayer is our lifeline to help from this divine spiritual realm of God, and I'll go into that a little more. If we're born helpless and ignorant, we're also in a pretty unique position as an expression of God. So a part of God inside of us is giving us this connection that other creatures don't have, and that allows us to communicate with God even though we're in a physical body. So it's a very different, the physical, the spiritual realm. So we're not separate from God, but the drawback is we're not aware of his or her presence because God has chosen to step back and put us in charge. So we're not the totality of God, so our power here on earth is very limited, and that's by design. It's an experiment in free will. Because with free will comes a possibility of evil or going away from God. So in order for us to learn, we have to be exposed to the opportunity to make a mistake. Now, God wants to create a way that his extensions can be like him by supporting and expanding all of life and not destroying it. So we're here to learn that way and make it more real for ourselves. And we have a partner in God if we ask. We can choose to be in alignment with God's will or not. If we do, then one of the most important tools for this is prayer. So God's not left us alone here. She has given us life and sustains our life and hears our thoughts, especially when we call to him or her, because he is part of us. Many times we only do this when we're in big trouble, when we're desperate. Things aren't working and there's no way that we can figure out to do something. So as a last resort, we may pray. At least that's a common idea. So prayer is a power we have, but it has its limits, and we can use it more effectively if we learn more about it. So I want to share with you some of the things I've discovered from these teachings that make a lot of sense. So given that we're in charge of the decisions that we make and the actions that we take, if we want the Creator involved, we must ask God to intervene. That's number one. How will God know what to do? He's not going to just read our minds and go ahead and do what's best for us because we haven't asked for that, unless we state to him what we want to happen, what we would like to happen. So this idea of giving us free will is really carried out to an extreme. And prayer, I think, is meant to give us that assistance when things are beyond our ability as a physical human being. So we don't have the power to do anything. But we also make the mistake of praying in a real general way, which God has to kind of, weigh what is it that you want me to do here. If you don't mention like your desired outcome, if you don't, what do you mean should happen when you say bless you? Or when you ask for someone's healing, what do you mean should happen there? So I think we need to give it a little bit more detail, and that's kind of where that healing prayer came in that we repeated. But again, remember, it's things that are beyond our ability. It's not really the idea that we should ask God to do everything for us. That's not the point. We have our own power, we're independent in a certain way. And so we're here to learn to make those steps, to take those actions, to do what we can for ourselves. But when we get stuck, there's still help available. Another critical component is our trust and belief in God. Is our belief only 50%? 50% God, 50% chance? Or, that's not going to be a very strong energy to put out there. And the thing about prayer is that it responds to our energy. So asking is important. It's better than not even trying. But the more we believe in God, the more power the prayer has, because God is saying, oh, you really expect me to do this for you? Okay, I'll help you. Here's where faith can help us too. If we don't believe in God 100%, and who does, maybe we can have faith that we'll be able to bridge that gap in belief and say, well, I'm going to proceed as if, and that'll help us trying to, we use beliefs constantly. They influence all the choices that we make in life. After all, why wouldn't it have an effect on what we're asking for from God? The other thing about belief is, what about belief in ourselves? Do we believe that we're worthy of divine intervention? If we doubt or disbelieve that we are worthy of God noticing us, this tells God not to pay attention to our request because we don't really think we're going to get it. So God, gave us a part of himself. He sees us as a partner, but because we're in charge, it is our intention that rules that relationship. So God's not going to lead us or change us without our invitation. The weaker our faith and belief, the weaker God's response will be. So it may, turn out not to be as a request that you really wanted. You may not get all of that. So how do we remedy that? Well, we can pray to have our faith strengthened, our beliefs strengthened. We can ask others to pray for us because they can intercede for us. They can ask God for us if they have a very strong belief, and that will go further. So this is another option. God, of course, always responds to requests, positive and useful, but ones that are truly serving you or others. He's not going to harm you. He's not going to harm others, even if they choose not to believe. Praying to hurt or punish someone will have no effect. So, got a few more. And this kind of goes to the idea of evil. Those that are not aligned with God, if they're corrupted to the point where they're not even able to talk to God, or don't even feel that God is a presence for them, that they see God as more of a distant, I don't know what their position is, but it seems like if you think about, I'll get into that later. Think about Lucifer and the fallen angels. It's possible to fall away, and I'll talk about that more. But that is a corruption of your connection with God. If you start to say, I don't need to do that, I'm good on my own, I don't have to follow that, or I don't have to ask God for anything. That's something that can be healed, but not usually by the person that's having that feeling, because they've already removed themselves from God. So again, others can pray for them. So who do we pray to? Well, God asks us to be wise and start at the top. Start with the Creator. It's best to ask for Creator first, who is all powerful, and allow him or her to delegate to other spiritual beings that can assist you if that's the best way. And you don't know all the ways that the spiritual realm works, so that's probably the best thing to do. If you limit your request by praying to angels or guides or others, they have to answer you, but they can only do what they're asked. They can't do any more, and they can't hand it off. So by doing that, you've said, I'm only going to accept help from that person or that being. And if it's a complex request that involves a lot more to help you, they won't be able to draw on these other sources. So prayers have more energy of belief and intent when they're spoken aloud. It's just the nature of putting together a prayer. It gives it more energy for you to say it. You've thought about it, you've put it together. Also, holding our hands in prayer, together in prayer, increases the focus like an antenna. So however you do that, that's also good, because it's not like you're asking for something, like you're not pushing something out here. You're working with your inner circuits here to focus and request something. So it's a little bit different. Let's see. So another thing about prayer is that we can use it more efficiently if we ask God to repeat our prayer every day until the problem is solved. We can use God's abilities and his power to request that he concentrate on that for us. If we are getting interrupted, if we forget, we still have that ongoing request to continue that process, because sometimes it takes a while for prayers to actually have some results. There's a lot going on here on the physical realm that has to be dealt with, and depending on the need, depending on what it is that you're requesting, it may be more difficult, may take more time. So this increases the prayer's power and priority with God. So in summary, prayers are answered in proportion to the need and in proportion to the intention, and in proportion to the level of belief of both the giver and the recipient. So those are some tips for you. There's a lot more this is just a distillation of what I've been reading, but at least it'll get you thinking about what this might have to do with you. How you can implement some of this, or if it makes sense for you. So the other thing, just a few more things. What is humanity's destiny or purpose? And this is kind of based on, what do we see? What problems do we see around us in the world? They say that, this is a quote from the creator on this source, is that the world you see and experience is the world created by your fellow human beings, you included, each playing a part, playing a role among others, following rules set in place by humans to serve human needs from human perspectives. So we've created this situation. And again, as I said, with the free will, along comes the possibility of going away from God instead of towards God. And this was the story of Lucifer and the fallen angels, which he's saying is true. Lucifer was a powerful leader among the angels in our galaxy, and his desire for more power exceeded his choice to remain in alignment with God. You know, they're in contact with the creator, angels are. And he doesn't exactly give them a free will, but they are allowed a certain amount of freedom in how they handle things. So if they're given a job to do or something like that, it's up to them how they do it. And he didn't really choose to correct some of the mistakes he was making. He kept leaning towards more and more power instead of what's going to be best for everyone. So he's no longer an archangel. He lost his connection to God. So he doesn't have those same powers anymore. And the rest of the fallen angels are along with him. I think we see the same story here on Earth. People becoming so powerful that they cannot stop themselves from taking advantage of controlling others. They want to feed that selfish need for power. And that's something that can get out of control. But again, it's our choice. What's important to us? And that's the source of suffering in this world. If we fall out of alignment to the point where we're not thinking about God's will or the things that are representative of God, then, you know, that's our choice. We turn away, but remember, God provides us the energy that we need to live. At some point, God says, if you keep turning away from me, you'll not be able to have access to that energy. If you shut off the flow, God has no choice but to say, okay, you're on your own completely. So that's what awaits us if we don't turn around. Now, we have to remember God's power is unlimited. Nobody can outdo God, okay? We can partner with God. God only wants what's best for all of us. But again, it's our choice. So to strengthen our alignment with God, in order to call for help, we can do that so that we can raise up those that are fallen, because they can no longer reach out to God from their state. So we can help heal them by calling and doing prayers for them. God's not condemning anyone. It's just that it's a slippery slope. If it's your choice and you keep taking that choice away from him, sooner or later, you can't reach back up. So that's something to know. So if that's the case, and this is another just basic concept, what does enlightenment mean? What's that all about? Enlightenment is to regain the light of the Spirit, the light of the divine, to be in harmony or to be in attunement with God. So what prevents this is not lack of knowledge. We were light beings before we were in a body, but we've lost our connection, and it's the doubt and fear and low esteem of ourselves that keeps us from reaching out to God. And so what's keeping us from aligning with the light are those things that hold us back. And that's something that can be healed. It's not about finding some new knowledge. It's about really learning where we're at and what we need. But we can ask for this, and to be enlightened requires you being healed of that darkness so that you can come back to be more in alignment with God and be closer to that. So that's the basis of it. I wanted to share a few things about what's happened since I've been doing this. I think I started doing this every day in November. Once, before bed and when I wake up. So I've been doing this list of daily prayers as was recommended. just as a start, because I heard that the most important time of the day for yourself is right before you go to sleep and right when you wake up, because that's what's present on your mind as you go into that sleep realm, which is really, in a way, a reconnection of that divine realm. When you're sleeping, you're more in touch with other parts of yourself that you're not aware of. So I started doing that, and I noticed a couple of things. I actually look forward to waking up and doing this and doing it before I go to bed, so I rarely forget, because it becomes something that you think about during the day. As you're saying these prayers for yourself, you start to think about what it means and what can I do about that? What is it that's possible here? So it's interesting, and my dreams have changed from sort of erratic, disconnected things that would maybe be memorable, maybe not, but oftentimes they just kind of like scattered. And now they become more like stories with a task or a goal or something that you're trying to achieve in your dream. So they feel a little more harmonious, a little calmer too. So it's a different feeling. This week I asked my higher self for a sign about this direction of study, about learning about prayer and all that there's a lot more besides prayer on this website, trust me. But I started with that. And on Wednesday, I had a dream that I saw this store in Escanaba, where I used to go as a kid on holiday. On summers, we'd spend most of our weeks up there in this Escanaba. And there was this store that always kind of stood out to me because it was so unusual. It had this fluorescent sign, and the name on the sign was Just Asp. Gust Asp is Gustasp, and that was his name, right? And it was like newspapers, tobaccos. At one time it was a butcher shop, and now it's a party store. It's been there for years, since the early 1900s. So it was something that we would see a lot because we're out there and the signs flashing on and off. Well, the other thing that flashed on that sign, in reality, when it didn't say his name, it said, Just Ask. And I said, oh, that makes sense why I had that dream. And the minute that I saw that in the dream, I also saw my body being filled with light, as if each cell was glowing. And this light just spread and spread and spread until I became so lucid I woke up. It was like, this was such an unusual state that it just woke me right up, So I figured, well, okay, that's the answer. I knew that was a pretty real to me. I've also been trying to change my sleep-wake schedule to get up earlier. And on Friday morning, I woke up early, but I drifted back off to sleep. And then a little bit later, I felt 2 physical pokes in my right shoulder. No one is in the room. I mean, I felt this and it woke me right up. So it's like, I think someone's trying to help me. I mean, I did pray that this was something that I wanted to change because I have a specific reason that's going to come as a result of this. So I did ask for help to do this. So, there's the answer there. So that's basically it. But thank you for listening. I appreciate it. I just wanted to share with you what I felt really I was gaining out of this material. And as I said, there are 2 handouts on the back table. Be sure to grab on your way out if you want. The daily prayers recommended by the Creator, and the little sheet on angels and how they work. So thank you again.
Okay. All right. Well, at this point, can I get a couple of people to grab the baskets and we'll do our offering today? You play some nice music for us? Sure. Where'd that come from? know, it's been a long time. Divine love through us addresses and multiplies all that we have, all that we give, all that we share, and all that we receive. Thank you very much. All right, do we have another song, Carol?
When you rule your mind. Number 337. Brings us song.
337. All righty.
Ready, set, go. Let's start all over.
Okay.
It's not flats, it's sharps. Okay.
All righty now. Let's say our church affirmation. All right. It's on the white card. You'll find that there. I remembered this time. We totally accept the belief that God is in charge of the affairs and direction of Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church. We know that as our thoughts of trust and joyful anticipation join in harmony with the thoughts of all members of this fellowship, we attract the right ministerial leadership to our spiritual community. And what are we? We are grateful. Woo! You want to do the benediction?
Source Creator, be our partner in life each and every day to keep us focused on love, receiving and giving, both to ourselves and to all those around us. Amen.
And let's create our circle and sing our final song. Thumbs left. Thumbs left.